Please, for the time, no comments, just questions, please.
Thank you for your time today, brother. Are there things that you can tell us that we can do, actions that we can take that are within law, that are effective in your experience?
I want to respond to this particular point. One thing you know immediately is that an organization that you all know and you know who's involved in it, like MPAC, is on the hitting list. I hope to have a conversation with MPAC about what it can do to prepare itself, but what you can do is to be extremely responsive to any calls or directions by MPAC. In other words, MPAC as an organization it will reach out to its congregation and its people right now, and it is the first thing that you can do is to listen to what they have to say and to oblige them in what they ask for. Whatever it is that they're going to ask for.
How do they do that? Through Twitter or email or?
I think there must be an MPAC representative here. Oh, Salam is here.
Happy to be here.
If get a hold of Salam, he's here. Can you stand up?
Yeah.
So this is the MPAC guy.
Yeah, they know.
And so you'll be in contact with them, but be an organization having a responsive a congregation is imperative. Otherwise, an organization is not effective. It is just an empty space. That, I think, for this congregation is the first and most important imperative.
Okay. And we'll be printing out the action alerts so that you can have it, and we'll be making an announcement after the prayer as well.
Assalamu alaikum. From your speech, it makes it seem that the Muslim ban from the 7 countries is actually a decoy. We're concerned about people coming from other countries, whereas what you're saying affects Muslims that are born and raised here. And it also seems like it's a double-edged sword. If we stand or say anything, regarding the Muslim Brotherhood, then that acts as evidence for their claim that if we support MPAC or if we support our local masjid, that we're associated with the Brotherhood. So what do we do? We can't, if we stand with Muslim Brotherhood, how do you advise our community? How do you advise, or what do you advise the organizations to do?
Well, I'm happy you asked this question. First, this issue of decoy, it's not a decoy in the sense that the Islamophobic bunch and the Trump administration, which is full of Islamophobic staff, have been very explicit about the fact that they want to lessen the number of immigrants, Muslim immigrants, coming to the United States. And I expect that if unless Trump is impeached for something or another, by the end of his administration, he will push through Congress several legislations that limit the quotas or lessen the quota of number of people that can come from Muslim countries. Christians from Muslim countries tend to be very successful in asylum cases. But I'm talking about normal, so for instance, they've said very explicitly that they want to abolish the ability of siblings to petition for each other. They want to tighten or make laws more difficult for Muslims who marry a U.S. citizen to, now we'll see if ultimately what they do is constitutional or not. That's a big question. I don't believe the recent executive order is constitutional for a variety of reasons, but the problem, keep in mind that the problem with legal battles is that legal battles are slow, and what is considered speedy action in the world of law is extremely slow and agonizingly slow in the life of a human being. So it's not a decoy, it's part of a long-term plan to make less and less Muslims be able to immigrate to the United States. Now, this double-edged thing that you've mentioned, I think that that's, again, interestingly, if we had read their own Islamophobic literature, they're quite explicit, and they think it's rather funny that they say, oh well, you know, we'll accuse the Muslim Brotherhood of being this massive terrorist organization, and then anyone who defends the Muslim Brotherhood, that's evidence that they belong to the Muslim Brotherhood, so we can go after them. My advice is, and I urge you, forget the issue of the Muslim Brotherhood. We should not defend the Ikhwan itself, not because I like them or do not like them, but simply because that is beside the point. The point is whether they want to have a fight as a matter of foreign politics with the Ikhwan or not. Citizens are citizens, and they have their rights as citizens. So in other words, what you should focus on is that you should not use the Ikhwan as an excuse to go after American citizens. You should not limit the freedom of speech rights, freedom of association rights, freedom of religion rights of a U.S. citizen by accusing them of belonging to or aiding or supporting or somehow being associated with some foreign organization. If they're not designating the Ikhwan as a domestic terrorist organization, and that's what you focus on. In other words, and be quite explicit in your speech. I am not speaking for the Ikhwan, I'm not defending the Ikhwan, I don't care whether you, as a matter of foreign policy, what you and the Ikhwan do with each other, but what I care about is that you are going after Muslim citizens and Muslim organizations that are through and through American. And that is the point of emphasis.
Do you see a viable legal challenge, including a stay, that could be made against this executive order that's coming up this week?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with foreign designation of foreign terrorist organizations is, in order to challenge the designation itself, it has to be made by officers of the organization. So Ikhwan officers have to show up in the United States and have to challenge your designation. Now, if they lose, they get arrested immediately as members of a terrorist organization. So, as you probably know, the attempts in the past for people who do not belong to the Ikhwan to make a challenge to the designation of a foreign designation has been not successful on lack of standing grounds. However, I think, and this is a larger issue, an issue that I really think lawyers can play a big role in. We are seeing a very dangerous trend of the executive branch legislating from their own pulpit, so to speak. The executive branch is making law that affects the way our Constitution functions and the way our Constitution defines itself for a long term. And this overstepping of the legislative branch is extremely dangerous. And that, I know that there is an effort that probably should be, those who are legally inclined should investigate and become involved with, by a group of very prominent constitutional law professors who think that Trump is acting ultra-virus and has already violated several constitutional doctrines that, as it is, require a serious judicial action. I don't think, to just sum up, because it's one of these questions that make you feel burdened. I don't think we can do much to prevent the executive order, but perhaps we can look into the minute that order is used to go after and we should have a preemptive plan, so to speak. The minute that order is used to go after a U.S. concern, a U.S. organization, that we try to get judicial intervention, definitely lobby for legislative intervention to make it clear that this executive order is not being used as a ruse to erode the rights of U.S. citizens, as we all know is going to happen.
Thank you for coming out here, enlightening us in this subject matter. I have a question in regards to the all the immigrants as of now on all the pending cases. Do you have any insights as far as what's their status, or if they recently migrated, or they're currently here but their status are pending? I mean, is there any yes?
Well, the order itself, by its terms, it's a very weird executive order because by its terms, all those who have recently immigrated, or even if you read the order on just literally, even if not recently migrated, all those who have migrated from the countries designated, Syria, Iraq, Sudan, and so on and so forth, it literally dissolves their permanent residency. That's why, and in fact, I would strongly advise anyone from these countries not to risk leaving the country. I don't think, I would be shocked if the government tried to deport anyone, but I would strongly urge people who are from these countries not to leave the country, because the legal haggling over whether they can re-enter is not over yet. I think what the Trump administration learned very quickly is that it's not going to be as easy as they thought it would be for them to simply cancel out the green cards of a whole bunch of Muslims and throw them out of the country simply with a poorly drafted executive order. I think for the time being, other than staying in the country and learn to become politically active, learn to, and politically active doesn't mean, invent your own political activism, but learn to follow what organizations like MPAC, their action alerts, whatever they advise you to do. I expect the Trump the Trump administration to regroup and say, okay, we have to articulate a more precisely drafted way, or a more precisely thought out way of lessening immigration from Muslim countries. Those who got through, let's leave it alone. That's what I think they're going to do, is that ultimately they're going to say, okay, those who got their green cards, let's just leave them alone, but go after future immigration. But I want, whether you have a green card or you're even a US citizen, that's not going to protect you. Like someone like myself who's a US citizen, unfortunately, that's not going to protect me from the type of political persecution that I anticipate the Trump administration has in mind for us. Because they can quite simply come and say that upon information and belief, and the information that they claim to have, that they could be, some report that Israeli intelligence gave them or Saudi intelligence gave them, that you, although you're a US citizen, you've have been a long time aider and abettor of the Ikhwan in the form of giving support to MPAC, let's say. And the law allows them to will they win at the end? Will they actually get a conviction? No. But in the meanwhile, my life would have been completely destroyed. And it'd been completely destroyed because, unfortunately, unlike the Jewish community, for instance, I know that I don't have the numbers of some billionaire Muslims who will immediately say, don't worry about your bills, don't worry about your family, don't worry about attorney fees, we're going to pay for everything, we're going to go to, just worry about yourself. No, what we'll have as Muslims is, Abu Batata will tell me don't worry, and Abu Batikh will tell me may Allah be with you, and Abu Rumman will say you can count on me, brother. I hate the word brother, by the way. When someone tells me brother, I cringe, because if this is brotherhood, I don't want it. Muslim Brotherhood, American Muslim Brotherhood means zilch, means nothing. It's actually a way for us to be as unbrotherly like as we can possibly be by brothering each other to death. So don't call me brother, call me hey you guy. It's better. I prefer that over brother. Anyway.
Last question.
I'll ask the question and then I'll explain why I'm asking. Is our democracy in danger? Because in 1 week, our new president, he gave no regard to legislators or judiciary or anybody else. Even his own appointed secretaries, he will take executive decision for them before they come. He hire and fire and put the agenda for them before even they are sworn in. Where is our democracy stand right now?
Let me be very resolute about this. Our democracy, in the biggest danger it has faced, in my view, even perhaps since the Civil War. And the issue is not a president overstepping his boundaries. The issue is, this is a cabal of individuals who fervently believe that this country was not founded by a group of people looking for freedom and escape from persecution. They believe that this country was founded by a group of ideologues anchored in the Judeo-Christian tradition. And they believe that there's something such as Judeo-Christian values which define this country. And they believe that the Judeo-Christian values that define this country are fundamentally and innately irreconcilable with what they call Islamic values. That this country is part of a paradigm of Western civilization and Judeo-Christian values, and that this, sunny part is at odds with the dark part, which is Islamic values and sometimes what they call other Asian values. By that they, mean Chinese. It's very unclear. But anyway, now they believe that they must reclaim the lost glory. They believe that pluralism and melting pot and freedom of religions and, give me your oppressed, your suffering, and so on. They believe all of that is a corruption, that all of that is America losing its way. And that America, in order for America to gain its way, it must go back to being Christian and Jewish, and to know, America should know, and the West should know, that they are in a life and death war with Islamic values and Islamic civilization. Now, the way this translates into real danger is, imagine if the Ku Klux Klan or any of the white racist groups, because this is fundamentally and essentially a white Protestant America, because they're also, they hate the Pope, they think the papacy is a corruption, that the papacy has lost its way from true Judeo-Christian values. In their writings, they're always mocking the Pope and making fun of what the Pope says and what the papacy says in general. So it's a very, what can I say, white, high-class, racist, xenophobic paradigm, which, if they understood anything about democratic theory, does not jive. You cannot build a constitutional democracy on a premise of religious bigotry or xenophobia, on the exclusion of certain values by definition as outside the realm of what civil society or civic society accepts. There is no way to manage democracy this way. So the danger and the real danger is that non-whites, including Hispanics, Latinos, blacks, anyone that doesn't fit in, it's not that they will be have their citizen taken away, but they will always be made to feel like outsiders, like they are the recipients of a favor that they should be grateful for, because they have been allowed to attach themselves to the Judeo-Christian white, shining, beautiful civilization. And although they are not inherently a part of that civilization, they have been allowed to be associated with it. It redefines the topography of the United States, the values that have actually guided the political system of the United States, and it would redefine the legal interpretation that we have produced over 300 years. I mean, the way they read some legal cases, like the Chinese exclusion cases or the Korematsu case, or a whole host, or cases that became core to racial integration, or cases that became core to imposing housing limits on housing prices and distribution of houses and so on. The way they read these legal cases is, in my view, complete corruption. They would literally combust them from the inside to produce a very, I mean, I don't know how they even dare call it Judeo-Christian values. In my views, I mean, they're the essence of corrupting Judeo-Christian values. If you want to see the type of society that they really want, read Ayn Rand's book, Fountainhead. I know that, sometimes it feels that, this is with my apologies to everyone, to you, but it's true, that I've often felt that I'm the only one in our beloved brethren and sisterhood of community that reads books all the time, but I'm sure this is going to be the last day that it's like that. So read Ayn Rand's book, Fountainhead. They always put that on the recommended list. It's a world in which any notion of kindness of a human being towards the other, it's a world in which the rich dominate and control, and if you're poor, according to these ethics that Ayn Rand in the Fountainhead argues, if you're poor and I help you, then I am actually hurting you because I'm teaching you to be lazy and dependent. And so the Christian thing and the American thing to do is not to help you if you're poor or needy or starving or homeless. And they say this with all conviction and belief. If you don't believe me, read their literature, people. Read what they actually write. It's remarkable. They are corrupting the United States in every imaginable way. Today it's Muslims, and I've written, published this for now 6 months, been writing this, that today it's Muslims, and it's Muslims because we are the low-hanging fruit. We are the weak target. We're a good test case. They can hit us, destroy us, learn a lot, and then move on to the next target. But the real danger, the real risk is to not just the United States, but Western civilization and what it will mean in the next 100 years, and its interaction with humanity, and what Western civilization is going to stand for when the books of history are written. And that's why it's also, they draw some of the richest and most dominant elements of society because it's a world that would suit them. It comforts their consciences. It makes them get rid of any notion of guilt that they might have. That there's so much suffering, there's so much poverty, all of that that God, in fact, they say that if you want to know what God wants, read modern history. God loves Israel because we see Israel victorious in every encounter in recent history. God loves us because God made us rich and privileged. Those who God doesn't love are the people who are losers and can't get their act together, and they're not powerful, and they're not rich. It's a very scary, draconian view of human future and American future, and not leave alone Muslim future. Anyway, don't even bother clapping. It's not an occasion to clap on. So I'd rather take a question instead of...
One question if I could. Would you recommend that current green card holders obtain U.S. citizenship as soon as possible? Just, it wouldn't protect them from criminal exposure, but vis-a-vis immigration concerns.
Yeah, I mean, I of course, in this type of climate, become a U.S. citizen, but I also strongly urge you, when you take the oath to become a U.S. citizen, read the oath, reflect on it, and mean every single word in it. Because if we actually take the oath to heart, if in fact, if they understood the oath, it would have helped them quite a bit. But yes, as a legal matter, if you have not naturalized, it's not smart. You need citizenship. And forget issues of, well, I will miss my homeland and stuff like that. You need to be an American citizen, and you need to become active through that American citizenship.
Okay, we'll end on that optimistic note. We have distributed the action alert. If you don't have it, let me know, I'll get you a copy. We're also circulating a notepad to get you on the mailing list. There is a rally today, a protest at LAX. I'm going, and anyone else, let us know, we'll go together. There will be a rally here, inshallah, February 20th, that is going to be called All for One America Rally. As Khaled said, this is not a Muslim problem, it's an American issue. America is now undergoing the struggle to define what pluralism is. Is it real pluralism, or is it just an empty word that is used really to marginalize so many other people who don't, quote unquote, fit in? There are groups now that are working for immigrant rights and refugees. If you want to be involved with them, it's on the action alert. And we want you to call your member of Congress. Anyone who has been silent on these executive orders, call them, the talking points are there, and demand that they take a stand against these executive orders for the sake of the Constitution. If for nothing else, they have to stand, they should take the loyalty oath, not citizens, in whether they stand for the Constitution or not. So this was an excellent intellectual discourse on the situation that we're in, analyzing the challenges. Now it's time to take action. And we'll continue talking to Khaled about his analysis on the situation, but really the responsibility is up to each and every one of us to do whatever we can. And so those are some of the action items, and of course we want you to be more involved in this center and with the Muslim Public Affairs Council. So thank you very much for joining us. Inshallah, see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.